It ain't shabby, folks. It ain't shabby. I gotta tip my hat. Let's take a look at the new card that's been built by the UFC for UFC 303. We have a title fight with Alex Pereira defending his light heavyweight title versus Yuri Prochazka. We have a fresh matchup for the co-main event. It's no longer light heavyweights. I'll get to that in just a second. It's now Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes. That came out of nowhere, and that's a great co-main event. And then we do have a fresh matchup in the light heavyweight division. Originally, Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree. Roundtree's out. Ulberg steps in. Jamal Hill versus Ulberg. And then late last week, we heard Jamal Hill's out. So now it's Ulberg versus Anthony Smith. Let's unpack that. Is this card better now? Goes, your thoughts?
I think on paper, yeah. It just depends on how you look at it, right? Like if you bought a ticket to see Conor McGregor fight, you paid Conor McGregor money. Is that money that you paid worth this card? Possibly not. On paper, though, if you're a fan and you're paying the same price regardless, pay-per-view, yeah, I think you're pretty stoked with the way things ended up. But it's the difference, man, between a Conor McGregor fight week. If you don't deliver that, it just doesn't feel right. UFC, I think, did a good job with the changes they did, but I think it just depends on how you're looking at it. If you're one of those people that were dead set on watching Conor fight and you paid those high prices to be in the arena, $1,000 to sit. I mean, have you been in T-Mobile when you're sitting up top there, man? I mean, like, you will get a nosebleed, do that. You're looking straight down. If you paid that for this card, you might not be too happy.
That's pretty fair. Yeah, I could see that. How about you, Fada? What do you think? This card versus the other card? Remember, they dressed up that co-main event really, really nice with Lopes and Ortega. The light heavyweight matchup kind of takes a little bit of a fall, maybe. I don't know. Hill is a former champ. To his credit, Roundtree's been on a roll. Ulberg's up and coming, though. He smashes people, and Smith has paid his dues. We got to give the man his respect. And then the main event. Look, Pereira's a big name. You know, that's not a bad plan B. But he just fought Prochazka. So I don't know. I'm kind of giving you a lot of the things that I think what people are thinking. But what are your thoughts? You're the expert.
Yeah, listen, I think they did the best they could in terms of scrambling. But for people who pay tickets, as Goes was saying, people who paid tickets wanting to see Conor McGregor, especially because we have to remember there are a lot of casual fans that watch Conor McGregor. The other fighters on the card are incredible, but there are a lot of people who aren't even MMA fans that have traveled or wanted to travel, especially to watch Conor McGregor fight. That changes things. The ticket prices were up there. They were all excited to see the sport's biggest stars. So it's a hit, especially for the people who wanted to attend. It's a big hit. Maybe for people like me that don't have to even pay pay-per-view, just a monthly subscription, I'm happy with the card. Like, I think it's still a great card. I think Lopes and Ortega is an amazing fight. I think Yuri and Pereira is a guaranteed banger, even though we've seen it before. I think credit to Anthony Smith. He's a BMF in his own way for being down to fight anybody whenever. So for me, the fight's good. But I think for people who are paying tickets to especially see Conor McGregor, it definitely sucks for them. But again, like I said, kudos to the UFC for scrambling to put something together on such short notice after the fight cancellation. But yeah, I can't really speak for everybody because I've seen a lot of online chatter where people are very, very upset and asking for refunds and whatnot. So it depends how big of a UFC fan. How about this? It depends on how big of a UFC fan you are. It's still a great card. If you're a big UFC fan, you're probably still going to go anyway. If you were there purely for Conor McGregor, you're probably going to want a refund.
Good stuff, Fada. And you're right, man. Respect to Smith. He will take a fight at any notice, inside and outside the octagon. Just try breaking into his house, see what happens. Danny Segura, your thoughts? Plan B versus what it was.
Man, that's a tough question and a great one. I think it is a better card. Sporting wise, there's no denying that this is a more relevant card. I mean, for one, we're going to get a title fight, something that we didn't have before. We can actually say that at the end of UFC 303, we are going to see and witness the best light heavyweight on the planet. And you couldn't say that before, even in any weight class, because there wasn't a title fight, right? And also in the co-main event, Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes, that fight's going to be spectacular. Is a key featherweight bout that's going to determine maybe not the next title challenger, although you never know, but certainly one of the best in the world. So in terms of sporting, yes, this fight card is 100% more relevant. But I might sound like a casual here, and I know the MMA hipsters are going to take a shot at me, but you just can't beat the Conor McGregor show. You just can't beat it. you just can't. I mean, it's Conor McGregor. He is a unicorn. He is a phenom. He is something we've never seen in this sport. It just makes the air in the arena, just the pixels on your screen watching the pay-per-view, it feels special, feel different. So I don't care that there is a title fight, that there is a little bit more relevant sporting wise on this card. You can't beat the Conor McGregor show. But shouts out to the UFC and all the fighters that stepped up, because this is a solid ass plan B. I mean, what a way to turn this around, because at one point this card looked like pretty shitty, to be honest. And all of a sudden, like, we got a stacked card. And shouts out to Poatan, shouts out to all these guys that are taking the fight on short notice, because they made it a fantastic event.
Poatan's in Australia with broken toes, and he's flying back to save the show. You definitely have to give that man some respect. Let me give you guys, I'm going to interject myself into this for just a second here. Last October, I had a chance to see Lionel Messi and Argentina play Peru, in Peru. It's the first time I got to see Peru, where my mom's from. Our mom goes with my brother. First time I got to see them play in their own stadium, right? And I heard this was going to be Messi's last game. And so it was a really fascinating experience. But had I shown up to the stadium and they said Messi's not playing, but we gave you Germany versus Brazil, I'd be like, well, that is a better game. No disrespect to Peru, but that is a better game. Those are some powerhouses. But damn, I kind of wanted to see Messi. You know what I mean? I think that's a little bit of what fans are feeling here with, like, McGregor's like, he's really it, man. Like, this guy, it's a show, dude. From the minute he arrives to his open workouts to the press conference, you just know you're going to be laughing. The face-offs, the hotel interactions. Well, I guess he stays in a mansion somewhere, but you know what I mean. It really, really is an experience. So I think that's what kind of does hurt for a lot of people. What are your thoughts on Pereira versus Prochazka 2, Fada? We just saw it in November. We know what happened. Yes, the UFC kind of had their hands tied a little bit. Shout out to Hunter Campbell. He got down. He saved this card. You know, and a lot of people were like, well, why not Ankalaev or whatever? But just, was it just the position the UFC was in? Like, just shut up and enjoy? Is that what it boils down to?
I think that was the fight that we heard was going to happen anyway, because Pereira, when he was doing media, was talking about Yuri being the fight, the rematch. So Yuri was also talking about it as well. So I'm not surprised to see that matchup. Obviously, I didn't expect him to scramble and put it particularly for this card, because there were rumors of it potentially landing in Perth or something. But either way, I don't know how intrigued I am to see them run things back. But if I look at Pereira individually and Yuri individually, they're both must-watch TV. So I'll never say no to watching any of those guys fight. I think they're both amazing fighters. They both put on a show. I know some people felt like the stoppage was questionable when Pereira knocked out Prochazka, and they felt like Prochazka was winning the fight. So there is that narrative. I would have been more intrigued stylistically. I'm not saying it would have been a more entertaining fight, but I would have been more intrigued stylistically to see how Pereira would handle an Ankalaev. But let's be real, it's going to be a great fight. Both of them are must-watch TV, so I'm not mad about it.
Want to give a shout out to Rom Lee watching on Facebook. Yes, you can watch on Facebook, facebook.com/official MMA Junkie. Every Monday live, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, or here on YouTube, youtube.com/MMA Junkie video. And if you hit that little bell, that'll tell you when we're on live, so you're guaranteed to never miss Spinning Back Clique. Also, big shout out to Craig Shubin. Muna Okachi's watching as well. He's up in the Bay Area. Let's see here. Danny, how about Ortega versus Lopes, man? What are your thoughts on that fight? That came out of nowhere. It's not getting talked about because there's so much focus on McGregor and Chandler, Pereira, and Prochazka. But, dude, what Ortega did in Mexico recently and the run Diego Lopes has been on, like, this is two forces colliding. This is going to have some impact on the featherweight division.
Yeah, huge fight at 145 pounds. And what a fight. I just interviewed Diego Lopes, and like his excitement for this bout, like, just even made me more excited. I even asked him, I'm like, yo, this came together very quickly. Like, how many rounds is this fight? And he's like, you know what? That's a great question. I don't even know. And he's like, I'll get back to you on that. And he did. But that's I think that speaks to the spirit of this fight. These guys are BMFs. These guys will fight anybody, anywhere, literally anywhere inside of the octagon. They'll strike. They'll do a crazy war. They'll do clinch battle. They'll go on the ground. And anywhere that they're at, they're always looking for a finish. This is a fantastic fight between two black belts that have power, that love to go to war. I mean, this is got fight of the night written all over it. I'm super excited for this fight, and I don't think it's too crazy to think that a UFC title shot is at stake here. We know that the UFC likes to, sort of reward
Over
guys
Holloway?
that step up, huh?
Over Holloway versus Topuria?
They love guys that step up, and they reward that. And look, whoever wins this, especially if the fight goes down how we think it's going to go down, some crazy thrilling war and ends with a crazy finish, you get a nice little call out of Topuria. I don't think
Did you not see the last 10 seconds of Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje? Or
yeah, I think so. That was a 155. I think the UFC can always use the Max Holloway card, and I think Max Holloway has other options as well. Look, I don't think it's crazy to think that the winner here is fighting Ilia Topuria next. Again, Holloway's obviously a player. He can always be next. And if I had a bet, he's probably going to be next. But I think that the winner here does have something to gain here in terms of that. I think it's not crazy to think that that they'll be fighting for the belt next. And look, a lot of things can happen. Look, we thought McGregor was going to fight at June 29th. He got injured. We know that, that can also happen to Max Holloway. It can happen to anybody. So, yeah, this is a super, super exciting fight. And I don't even know what it's going to look like, but I'm all in for it.
Alex Volkanovski's not going to like hearing that he's already behind Holloway, and the winner of this fight, you're going to get an unfollow, Danny, from Alex the Great, I think. All right, goes Oldberg and Smith. That's the new light heavyweight shakeup. What are your thoughts there on that fight? Did we need it, or do you applaud the UFC for making that, for the guys stepping up? Because Oldberg just won and Smith just fought. Like, I don't know. I have an appreciation for that gangster mentality, to just let's go, let's roll.
Oh, we could always use the fight like that. And that's what's kind of making things interesting here. For our sport is constantly evolving. And I think one of the next steps that fighters are going to have to take here is you look at guys like Poatan, you look at Anthony Smith. I think you just have to year round be ready. No more of this taking time off. These guys have been able to benefit and put themselves in good positions to make good paychecks because they kind of year round just stay ready. And they're capitalizing on that right now, right? They're probably collected a pretty nice paycheck for filling in here and helping out with this card. The fight itself, I don't know that it proves a lot, but it's a banger. I think it's going to be fun. Both guys have shown you that when you tune into their fights, they deliver good fights. So I'm good with it. I'm down. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really tough to complain. Let me address here the chat. MMA Events Vlog says, facts goes, nosebleeds are brutal. Ruin my ticket plans. And then I got another question here about refunds. And from what I know, at least I believe it's been the policy, if the main event does fall off, you are entitled to a refund. Dana White's been asked that before in press conferences, and he says usually people don't ask for it because they believe in the UFC product. However, this was a record-setting gate. I think over $20 million were sold in tickets. And yeah, I'm hearing nosebleeds. Some of them were over 1,000. So yeah, if you were coming to see McGregor, take a look into that. Also, another thing that was being addressed here in the chat about the pay-per-view. I think it's still available, but you can get in early for $10 less. Instead of $79.99, I believe it's $10 less. It's usually $80, so I think it's $70. Check into that. Don't quote me on it, but at least as of about a few days ago, they were still promoting that. So you can save $10 there. You can always call a buddy and split it, cut it in half. It's disappointing that there is no McGregor, yes, but I mean, I think the panel's done an excellent job on selling just how stacked this card is.